Hello everyone, this is Marcel, welcome to my channel. So something just happened to a member of my family that kind of caught me off guard. It's one of those situations where you kind of hear stuff like this happens, but you don't ever expect it to be close to home. Almost equivalent that you hear on the highway, there are huge accidents and 10-car pileups and stuff, but you don't expect to walk out your front door and see it happen in your own yard. Kind of a surreal experience. So I have a relative, no blood relation, who found out that she is pregnant. Hooray, right? Well, her and her boyfriend had been talking for some time about, moving their relationship forward and the possibility of getting married. From what I heard, they'd been talking about the idea for over a year now, it seems, maybe more. They've been together for several years. Well, spoilers in the title, I suppose. The punchline is that she is in her mid-40s. So I guess she and her boyfriend were being a little reckless, and oh, big surprise, she got knocked up, so now they've pushed the marriage forward because of course they want to be married before the kid is born. Now, to give you a little background on this woman, she was able somehow to get pregnant while she had a copper plug in, while she was on the pill, which I'm just taking her for her word that she was taking it, and still got knocked up. Now granted, that was 20 plus years ago when she was a much more appropriate age for having kids. Hell, her kids are starting families of their own. Can you picture children getting raised alongside their uncle at the same age? Now I couldn't imagine what's going through this guy's mind right now. I've dated a number of women. I've never dated any of them in their 40s, but I have dated much older women than I am. Age gaps of between like 18 and 38, for example. So it's not that far-fetched. I have no idea what this guy's age is. But I know the women that I went out with that were in their mid to late 30s, not to say that I was doing anything reckless with them, but they would say in conversation, I'm too old to have kids. Or they would even say that they couldn't have kids. There was, of course, that implied sense of security. Now, naturally, none of the relationships got very serious. But looking back on it, a number of them did want kids, even at that age, or at least would want them if they thought they could have them. Hell, when I was talking to one of them in a foreign country, kind of a mail-order bride scenario, that said that if I weren't willing to have unprotected sex with her, that she would break up with me, or not even be willing to meet up with me. Referred to it as a way that I would show my true love, or that I actually trusted her. Kind of meant that I took the relationship seriously. Well, of course, that was a massive red flag, and I wasn't dumb enough to fall for it. But it's the mindset that these women, a lot of them, do want to have kids. And I think in the background are actually hoping that they will get pregnant. Okay, baby rabies extreme here. But to think that there could be one in her mid to late 40s that are going to be having kids and just, oh my gosh. Can you imagine that she is probably going to be retired? If she's lucky, they're going to be retired before this kid is even out of college, before they're even out of the house. Hell, kids are staying in their parents' house until their 20s nowadays. I'm sorry, sweetie, I can't drive you to high school yet. The Social Security check hasn't come in and I need to fix the car. Can you imagine? It got me thinking about how we could have gone from even just a few hundred years ago, when a person would be lucky to live and have a relatively healthy body, into their 50s, to a society where women are almost having kids at that age. If nobody minds it, I'm going to put on a tinfoil hat here for a minute. So I do study in biology, as I've said multiple times in previous videos, so I know a little bit about hormones and the way that they work. So I'm going to make a jump here and assume that most everybody listening would agree they put too much hormones in food. Any hormones is too many hormones in food. Not to mention there's a crap ton of soy, which does affect the way the body creates or utilizes estrogen. Some say it has forms of estrogen in it. So if we can all agree on that, and you look at young women these days, they're maturing much faster than they used to, or at least it seems that way. Could be the way they're dressing. I really doubt it though. You go up and talk to somebody about their 20-year-old daughter and they're like, nah, she's 13. And your jaw drops. Well, hormones regulate all of the changes that happen in a person's body, especially around 13, 14 in a normal person that isn't being affected by outside sources. Those ages are getting affected because the very same things that you could potentially feed to like a cow or a chicken that would say make it grow ridiculously fast, reach sexual maturity much sooner, or produce a product like milk that might be regulated by hormones to a degree that it would produce more of it, or it would make it more quickly, or maybe not have to have a calf prior to making it. All of those things might just have the same effect on humans. Now, I'm sure all of these companies are all upstanding and honest with all of their customers, though there's probably also a reason why all the milk cartons now have to say on them they're not treated with hormones, or at least specific kinds of hormones. It feels like a pretty safe bet that at least something in the diet is going to play a role in how people are maturing nowadays. It doesn't really matter if the compounds are synthetic because a lot of modern medications are synthetic. It doesn't matter if they're meant for other animals because a lot of medications are made from compounds that are meant for other animals, or made by other animals and then used on humans. In regards to affecting fertility, well, I see no reason why that wouldn't be changing in both directions. Something like menopause is controlled hormonally. Now, I'm sure there are things that happen in a woman's body that makes it unavoidable, like the aging process, but then that is being covered or affected by medical science and the ever-evolving availability of nutrient-rich foods. Love it or hate it, the diet that we eat in America has a lot of nutrients injected into it, albeit artificial ones. Nonetheless, like take iodized salt for example, people get a goiter, kind of a disease if they don't get enough iodine in their diet. A lot of this stuff will prolong life, but it's not going to necessarily enrich in it. Some diseases are just easy and straightforward to fix. Maybe there's no money in people having them, I don't know. Either way, people are living much longer these days. This is why they keep trying to push forward the years when a person is allowed to retire. It started out at like 55 or 60, then went to 65. Soon it'll be 75 or 80 before you're allowed to actually see your retirement back. I don't want to get too far off topic though. The point here with all of this is whether or not you believe that these women will lie about being fertile or thinking that they can have kids doesn't matter. If she's having sex, she can get pregnant. It doesn't matter how old she is, how young she is, whether or not they claim to be on birth control, taking the pill, having plugs, all of it. Doesn't matter. None of it. If she's having sex, she can get pregnant. Of course, is anybody really surprised if these women use excuses that they can't get pregnant to trap the guys? Just baby trap them? I'm sure it happens all the time. I would consider any situation where a woman tries to take agency or control over the type of birth control the guy uses, whether it be a condom or maybe a condom in addition to spermicide or something. The minute she says, hey, let's just use this instead because of reasons, especially if they've used something else prior to that and it worked, that's a red flag. No matter what, regardless of who gets laid, it's the guy that gets screwed. Yeah, so out of curiosity, I looked the guy up on Facebook, and he's younger than she is. He's not that young, but he's younger than she is. I'm trying to picture what's going through his mind right now, that he just basically got forced into marriage, at least earlier than he wanted to, because of this pregnancy. That there's no way that he expected that to happen. God, I just couldn't imagine having to marry a 45-year-old woman because of that. For any reason, but especially at that age though. And he's got his own business and everything. Like he owns a business and now he's trapped with her. And if I'm guessing right on his age, because he doesn't have his age posted, he looks like about his mid-30s. I mean, those are the years that a guy should be spending saving up for his retirement if he ever plans to retire. Like that's the age where you've had your kids, if they're going to have them at all, and now they're planning on settling down and trying to accomplish something. I don't know, maybe he's happy with the situation, but it doesn't sound that way. And he basically just had the next 20 years of his life stolen from him. You guys tell me down below, what's the craziest thing you've seen, or the most ridiculous excuses or requests that women have tried to trap you with? Let's do something different, in fact. The most absurd true story that one of you shares will be featured at the end of a future video. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. In the meantime, if you enjoyed my content, like, share, subscribe, and until next time, this has been Marcel. Hey, you guys want to know why they normally name hurricanes after women? When they first come, they're wild and wet, and when then they leave, they take your house and car with them.